Happy Halloween, gals and guys. Now, last year when I did these movie reviews, I went through a bunch of movies to find out ones that I enjoyed and I would think that you would enjoy. This year, just to save time and make it a little different, I chose movies, and depending if they were good or bad, even if I was 15, a half an hour into it, and said, oh my God, this is terrible, I suffered through the rest of it. I did it for you, gals and guys. And plus, I did it for time. I didn't have time to watch a bunch of movies and find the ones I like. So we got some potluck of good and bad here this time out for FreeVee. So let's take a look at what we got there, shall we? Here are just some of the free streaming services you can find online that offer up movies and television shows. So you have to watch a commercial here and there. Suck it up there, Buttercup. I'd rather watch a couple commercials than have to pluck down my dead presidents for the pay for services. I'm a cheap son of a bitch like that. The links to all the Halloween movies I cover in these videos you can find down in the description and are free to stream. You could let me know if you agree with my reviews or not. You can tell me you love me. You can tell me how awesome and handsome I am just using the comments section below. Here are the 5 films we'll be covering. I'm telling you right now, there are a couple that aren't very good, and then there are a couple I thoroughly enjoyed. In this edition of My Media Helpers Entertainment Online Halloween Edition, we are going to focus on the streaming service FreeVee, which used to be IMDb TV last year around this time. Okay, you gutless fuckers, let's see what FreeVee has to offer this year. Some Guy Who Kills People is a 2012 American comedy drama horror film directed by Jack Perez and written by Ryan Levin. The film was made by a conglomerate of production studios, Level 10, Battle of Ireland Films, and LITN Up Films. John Landis was the executive producer. A young Ken Boyd is tormented by 5 other kids from school until he snaps, becomes suicidal, and is institutionalized. Years later, upon Ken's release, he begins to try building a life and reconnecting with the community, and those who put him away start turning up dead. So this isn't your typical slasher movie. There's a more in-depth study of some of the actual characters. It's not your run-of-the-mill two-dimensional teenagers being murdered, although I wish they would have focused more on the victims. I think the film would have been more interesting if we had learned more about them. And the main characters are fleshed out. The victims were just your stereotypical douchebags. It left little room for garnering any kind of sympathy towards their demise. I think it would have been far more interesting if they redeemed themselves as people and then were murdered. It would have given their deaths more weight and made the film a little more uneasy than it was. I just think it was a wasted opportunity, but don't get me wrong, the film was pretty good. It was well acted, well written. I just wish they had done more with it. Fender Bender. Oh boy. Fender Bender is a 2016 American slasher film by writer and director Mark Pavia. Fender Bender is the first film co-produced with Chiller TV and Shout Factory. It went into production on November 4th of 2015. Shout Factory developed, financed, and distributed the film, and it premiered on Chiller TV on June 3rd of 2016 after a limited theater release on May 23rd of 2016. The film was shot on location and is set in New Mexico and follows a 17-year-old girl being stalked by a serial killer. Hillary, that 17-year-old girl, gets into a fender bender shortly after obtaining her driver's license. She innocently provides all her information to the other driver. When Hillary returns home, her parents are angry at her, though the stranger rear-ended her. As a result, they go on holiday without her, leaving her alone and vulnerable. Hillary invites her friends, Rachel and Eric, over and receives a text from the stranger. She has unwittingly become the next victim as the mysterious driver stalks her suburban home later that stormy night while Eric, Rachel, and she defend themselves. Complicating matters is Hillary's ex-boyfriend who appears on the doorstep drunk. This movie was spectacularly original about a knife killer who attacks a group of kids in a house. There has never been anything like it. In clocking in at an hour and 50 minutes, they fit in every bit of character development and as many unpredictable surprises as possible. A killer, no matter what you threw at him, just didn't want to die. Dumb teenagers hiding under beds. All originality. That's all a bunch of bullshit and sarcasm. They should have called this movie a Fender Bender. It was unoriginal. It was about 30 minutes too long. It was boring as fuck. If you've never ever seen a slasher movie in your life, maybe you'll get something out of this. If you grew up with Halloween, Friday the 13th, Scream, or a million others that came before this Snorefest, then don't expect some riveting reimagination of the genre. Fender Bender is a buffet of every horror trope we've seen 100 times before. Get out the deck of cards if you're watching this alone, as you'll probably be able to fit in 20 or 21 hands of solitaire. Maybe watch it at a Halloween party with your friends, play it in the background. You really don't have to pay attention to the whole thing. Glance over and you'll instantly be able to keep up, kind of just like watching a soap opera. It was bad. Yikes. I don't recommend it. No. All right, let's switch gears from terrible to good. Get it? Switch gears is a card joke. The Hunt. I actually watched this movie a couple months ago. FreeVee had it under horror, so I'm going to spotlight it because I really love this movie. It's unapologetically violent. I must tell you to keep in mind the first 10 minutes are ridiculously stupid, so much so I was about to turn it off. Stick with it. If you're an action fan, the pace and the story are unrelenting. Like I said, it's pretty violent, so not for the incredibly squeamish, although I am reviewing Halloween movies, so what the hell do you expect? 12 strangers wake up in a clearing. They don't know where they are or how they got there. In the shadow of a dark internet conspiracy theory, ruthless elitists gather at a remote location to hunt humans for sport. But their master plan is about to be derailed when one of the hunted, Crystal, turns the tables on her pursuers. And does she ever? The Hunt is a 2020 American horror thriller film directed by Craig Zobel and written by Nick Kuss and Damon Lindelof. You know I'm going to destroy names. The film stars Betty Gilpin and Hilary Swank. Jason Blum was producer under his Blumhouse Productions banner along with Lindelof. The film is about a group of high-income progressive people who kidnap working-class people with conservative political views to hunt them for sport. Zobel and Lindelof have said that the film is intended as a satire on the profound political divide between the American left and the right. The film was first announced in March of 2018, and the cast signed on a year later. The filming took place in New Orleans. The film was originally scheduled for release on September 27th of 2019. However, as a result of the Dayton and El Paso mass shootings in early August of 2019, Universal Pictures decided to delay it. The Hunt was released in theaters in the United States on March 13th of 2020 by Universal Pictures and received mixed reviews from critics. The onset of COVID-19 pandemic resulted in the closure of most theaters within a week of the film's release, which resulted in the film underperforming at the box office, grossing only $16 million. Universal made The Hunt available digitally on March 20th. The original title of the script was initially reported as Red State versus Blue State, is a reference to the red states and blue states. Later, Universal issued a statement denying that the film had ever had it as a working title. The elite hunters referenced to their query as deplorables in an allusive to the phrase basket of deplorables, used by Hillary Clinton during 2016 United States presidential election campaign to refer to half of the supporters of then-president candidate Donald Trump. An early draft of the script depicted working-class conservatives as the film's heroes. Want some kick-ass this Halloween season? Watch The Hunted. It's got a lot of surprises and turns and twists, and you don't really know where it's going. When I first watched it, it was going in one direction, and I thought that's the direction it was going to go. But it surprises you. There's your normal tropes you're going to find in any horror action movie, but at least they put a spin on everything. So definitely watch it this Halloween season. Tales of Halloween. I figured I should have at least picked a film that has the holiday in the title. I guess I shouldn't have chosen this particular film. I can't even begin to explain the level of stupidity this movie is. I'm not talking good, enjoyable stupid. I'm talking just your plain old, everyday, stupid. The description of the movie on the site reads, "The best horror anthology since Trick or Treat" by Fangoria Magazine, and among the best Halloween-themed horror movies ever made by Daily Dead. This critically acclaimed film weaves together 10 chilling tales from horror's top directors. Ghosts, schools, monsters, and the devil delight is terrorizing unsuspecting residents of a suburban neighborhood on Halloween night. And that is all incorrect information. Tales of Halloween is a 215 American comedy horror anthology film consisting of 10 interlocking segments, each revolving around the titular holiday. Segments were directed by Neil Marshall, Darren Lynn Bousman, Excel Caroline, Lucky McGee, Andrew
Paul Sullett, John Skip, Adam Gurash, Jay Sanderson, Mike Mendez, Ryan Schifrin, Dave Parker, and in his film debut, Jack Dylan Grazer. The film premiered on July 24th of 2015 at the Fantasia International Film Festival before receiving a limited theatrical release and through video on demand on October 16th of 2015 by Epic Pictures. All right, prepare me to mispronounce a whole bunch of people's names. I already did, and I'm going to do it again, so let's give it a try here. Tales of Halloween was conceived by filmmaker Excel Caroline, who garnered a slew of directors to make a Halloween-centric film taking place in the same town on the same night. Caroline was at a birthday party when she pitched the film to Adam Girish and Andrew Cash. Cash would then bring along his collaborator, John Skip, to work with him on This Means War. Mike Mendez, directed of The Covenant, signed the film a month later and helped secure a deal with Epic Pictures Group. Joe Bigos was brought onto the project and wrote a script, but would drop out to direct The Mind's Eye. Bigos was replaced by Lucky McKee, who was flown out to Los Angeles to direct his segment. Mendez's short Friday the 31st was actually the opening to a film he co-wrote with Dave Parker 18 years prior called Dead Stuff. Darren Lynn Bousman used a script from his colleague Clint Sears and reassembled his crew from The Devil's Carnival. Girash, writer of films Mortuary and Crocodile, first pitched a romantic short, which would be rejected by Caroline. For Ryan Schifrin's short, The Ransom of Rusty Rex, actor John Landis had assisted Schifrin after editing was completed by giving notes. Bousman and Neil Marshall shot their segments in a matter of 2 days. All right, this movie sucked hard. I didn't even know what was going on half the time. That could have been because of the movie, or I kept reading through Facebook while it was on. Top horror directors? Not really. I looked through IMDb credits. I guess Darren Lynn Bousman counts, but the rest directed shit I never even heard of. Trick or Treat was a pretty good anthology movie. This was not. It shouldn't really be compared. I really wanted it to be as good as Trick or Treat. I wanted it to be amazing. It was not. It was an unimaginative piece of schlock. Yes, I use the word schlock, probably an overused word for shitty movies, but one that fits perfectly. Not all the stories were terrible. The first one is all right, where a kid kills a teen couple, because they ate his candy, and there's another where two guys kidnap a little kid and get a little more than they bargained for. There were a couple diamonds in the rough, but overall, there was mostly rough. Just keep in mind that overall, the reception for Tales of Halloween has been positive, with Rotten Tomatoes certifying it fresh with 77% rating. The site's consensus reads, Tales of Halloween boasts a number of fun scares and is overall more consistent than many horror anthology films, even if it isn't quite as dark or nasty as the classics of the genre. Maybe I'm just not the target audience. I thought overall most of the stories were tropes and stupid. And you let me know differently. I did not like this movie. It seemed just slapped together with names of directors of movies I've never heard of. Goosebumps is a 2015 American comedy horror film directed by Rob Letterman and written by Darren Lemke, based on the R.L. Stine's children's horror book series of the same name, and it stars Jack Black as a fictionalized version of Stine, who teams up with his teenage daughter and their neighbor to save their hometown after all of the monsters from the Goosebumps franchise escape from his works, wreaking havoc in the real world. Amy Ryan, Ryan Lee, and Jillian Bell appear in supporting roles. Development on a Goosebumps feature film adaptation began in 1998 with Tim Burton attached to direct. After failing to find a script to determine which book to adopt, the project was halted. In early 2008, Columbia Pictures acquired the rights to create a Goosebumps-based film, and the project re-entered development. Principal photography lasted from April to July of 2014 in Candler Park, Atlanta. Goosebumps was theatrically released in the United States on October 16th of 2015 by Columbia Pictures. The film was a commercial success and garnered generally positive reviews from critics, with praise for its humor and many references to the Goosebumps franchise, and grossed $158 million against its $84 million budget. A standalone sequel, Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween, was released on October 12th of 2018, with only Black returning as an uncredited supporting role. And if you weren't aware, Goosebumps is a series of children's horror fiction novels by author R.L. Stine, published by Scholastic Publishing. The stories follow child characters who find themselves in scary situations, usually involving monsters and other supernatural elements. From 1992 to 1997, 62 books were published under Goosebumps' umbrella title, Various spin-off series were written by Stine. Goosebumps Series 2000, Give Yourself Goosebumps, Tales to Give You Goosebumps, Goosebumps Triple Header, Goosebumps Horrorland, Goosebumps Most Wanted, and Goosebumps Slappy World. Another series, Goosebumps Gold, was never released. Bumper. Goosebumps has spawned a television series and merchandise, as well as a series of feature films starring, hey, that Jack Black as Stine. Since the release of its first novel, Welcome to Dead Horse, in July of 1992, the series has sold over 400 million books worldwide in 32 languages, becoming the second best-selling book series in history after J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. Individual books in the series have been listed in several bestseller lists, including the New York Times bestseller list for children. The Goosebumps series falls under the children's horror and thriller genres, although Stine characterizes the series as scary books that are also funny. Each book features different child characters and settings. The primary protagonists are middle class and can be either male or female. The primary protagonists of Goosebumps stories are often situated in a remote location or somehow isolated from typical societal conventions. This can range anywhere from comfortable suburban areas to boarding schools, foreign villages, or campsites. According to the documentary Tales from the Crypt, From Comic Books to Television, R.L. Stine said that he remembered reading the popular infamous Tales from the Crypt comic books when he was young and credited as one of his inspirations. Books and characters in the series were inspired by books and films. For example, the character Slappy the Dummy was inspired by literary classic The Adventures of Pinocchio. Some of Stine's ideas for the books also come from real life. Stine got the idea for the book The Haunted Mask after his son Matt had a Halloween mask he had trouble getting off. Stine also uses his childhood fears to help him write his books. The author said, "Luckily, I have a great memory. As I write a story, I can remember what it feels like to be afraid and panicky." Stine states he often thinks of a title to the novel first, then lets the title lead him to a story. Two common themes in the series are children triumphing over evil and children facing horrid or frightening situations and using their own wit and imagination to escape them. Stine does not attempt to incorporate moral lessons into his novels and says his books are strictly for reading motivation. In 2008, Columbia Pictures acquired rights to create the Goosebumps film. Neil Moritz and Deborah Forte, the latter of whom had previously worked on the Goosebumps television series in the 1990s, were chosen to produce the film. Screenwriting team Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, were hired as screenwriters and wrote the original script for the film. The duo decided against adopting any one book in the series, feeling the individual books in the series were too short. Thinking of ways to create a universe where all the creatures in the book could live together, they elected to do a fake biographical film where R.L. Stine writes a book and the monsters within become real. In 2010, Carl Ellsworth was chosen to write the screenplay. On January 14th of 2012, it was reported that a new draft of the screenplay would be written by Darren Lemke. Lemke co-wrote the screenplays for Shrek Forever After and Bryan Singer's Jack the Giant Slayer in November of 2012. Stine expressed pessimism about the prospect of the film, saying that he would believe that a film can be based on his Goosebumps series when he sees it. The screenplay was rated PG-13. He also mentioned Where the Wild Things are being adapted into a film almost 50 years after publication. In September of 2013, it was reported that Jack Black was in talks to play a Stine-like author whose scary characters literally leap off the page, forcing him to hide from his own creepy creations. Black stated that he tried to make the character more of sort of a curmudgeonly, dark, brooding beastmaster. He also said that he attempted to approach this film the same way he does others, trying to make it as funny as possible. Black met with R.L. Stine to get his consent for the film, but determined that his character could not be too similar to the real one. Black explained that he needed the character to be more sinister. Rob Letterman was chosen as director, reuniting him with Black after working together on Shark Tale and Gulliver's Travels. Because of the success of the first Goosebumps, Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween, came around in 2018. It's an American film directed by Ori Sandel and written by Rob Leiber, from a story by Leiber and Darren Lemke. A standalone sequel's plot followed two boys who accidentally released the monsters from the Goosebumps franchise in their town after opening an unpublished Goosebumps manuscript titled Haunted Halloween, causing a wave of destruction on Halloween night. Unlike the previous installment, Village Roadshow Pictures was not involved with the film, and it was not presented in 3D as the original. Development of the film began in September of 2015. That Rob Letterman confirmed that he was to return as director for the sequel, as Jack Black was set to reprise the role of Stine as Odia Rush was initially attached to reprise the role of Hannah Stine. However, it was confirmed that the sequel will not feature any of the original cast, and Letterman couldn't commit to return due to his busy work on Pokemon Detective Pikachu, so Ori Sando was hired to direct. Jack Black did return for the film as Stine. Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween was released in the United States on October 12th of 2018 by Sony Pictures, releasing under its Columbia Pictures label. The film received mixed reviews from critics and was not as successful as the predecessor, grossing $93 million worldwide against its $35 million budget. All right, this is not a movie made for me. I am not the demographic this film was looking after. Nowhere in any boardroom did anyone say, let's make a Goosebumps film for 50-plus-year-old age bracket. And although there's a wide variety of fantasy this geek enjoys, I enjoy Marvel superhero films, The Lord of the Rings, early Star Wars and Star Trek. This particular franchise always escaped me. The whole concept of Goosebumps didn't even come out until after I was a teenager, so I missed the boat on that one. I'm also not a big fan of Harry Potter movies either, so it should tell you where I'm at. This film is fine in my eyes. I was bored. I can see how a younger demographic would cling on to it and appreciate it much more. It's a good Halloween movie for the younger crowd with minimal violence and certainly no blood to be seen. I recommend it for the young and the young at heart. I suppose my heart is too small and too black to appreciate it. To Jack Black.
And that's my 5 reviews for FreeVee for the Halloween season. If you just go into FreeVee and you scroll on down, you should be able to see horror movies right there. If you want to see more, just hit on see more. And then there you go. You got some oodles and oodles of films to watch. And I hope you got something out of this. I appreciate you as always. Please subscribe if you could. If you like this video, share with your fellow horror aficionados. Or hit the bell for updates. And I will catch you tomorrow.